Grief without goodbye. Today I'm sharing a personal story. It's not about blaming anyone. It's not about getting back at anyone. It's about sharing how my own tools of emotional awareness and resilience helped me through this, right? My memory is not the best, but about 2.5 years ago, I was still living in the States, and I would call and check on my grandmother at least once a week, right? My grandfather had passed many years before, and she insisted on remaining to live in the house by herself. So I would call and talk to her, make sure she's all right every week. My brother would make occasional trips there as well. He had the means to be able to do that. Occasionally, my cousin would as well. Well, it came a time when I had called my grandmother and she didn't answer. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that this happened. Sometimes she decided she didn't want to answer the phone. Sometimes she was outside when I would call and she would call me back later. But it had been 2 weeks and she hadn't returned my call. So I called my cousin kind of frantic and saying, hey, she hasn't been answering the phone, she hasn't returned the call. And I called him because he lived the closest to her. He lived within driving distance. I lived in another state, many hours away, as well as my brother. So he said, okay, I'm gonna go there and see what I can find out. Unfortunately, upon his arrival, he found her in a very destitute state. The house was very unclean. She was lying on the floor, and she was disoriented. He called the ambulance. She appeared to be coherent, so it was some difficulty in getting them to take her to the hospital, but it transpired they did. So they got her to the hospital, got her the care that she needed. Well, my grandmother's very private. She hadn't shared a lot of the details of her business with anyone. So we were at a scramble trying to figure out where's her insurance and all of these sort of things. Ultimately, she got sent to a nursing home. And so the nursing home informed us that we needed to have the power of attorney person to be able to do any kind of business on her behalf. So my brother got the paperwork, had her sign it, put himself, myself, and my cousin as the equal power of attorney. Well, somewhere during this process, where we're all trying to coordinate, my cousin felt like my brother and I was trying to get over on him and subsequently get over on my grandmother. Now, mind you, he at this point had put in the least effort in taking care of her. My brother was taking care of some of her expenses. I was talking to him about that. I had took care of some expenses with the nursing home. My brother also went and visited her the most often, right? Somewhere along the lines, he has a meltdown and has decided that he is the only one capable of taking care of her and whatnot. I tried to get in contact with the lawyer. Anyway, all those legality things really don't matter. The fact of the matter came that me and my brother understood that my cousin was not in his right thinking and that we wanted to go see our grandmother and just talk to her, right? Not try to influence her in any way. So we planned a trip, didn't tell my cousin, didn't need to. I mean, we were under no obligation to, but didn't keep it a secret either. And I stayed a couple of weeks so that I could go and visit with her every day. And she clearly was in a state of diminished capacity, still had some thoughts about her, but not her full thoughts, right? Clearly some level of dementia. And I enjoyed that time that I spent with her. However, I knew because of the actions that my cousin were taking, that this is likely the last time I would see my grandmother, because he was not being cooperative with neither myself or my brother, right? So I made sure to take video with her, tell her how much I love her. And neither my brother nor I ever said any a disparaging word about my cousin, because we don't do things like that, right? I knew that this visit would be the last time that I got to see her. Even though I had a desire to still be in connection with her, I knew this was it, right? So, that being said, he came, got her, cursed me, wished death upon me, which led me to understand that having any communication with him was emotionally unsafe for me, right? So I knew at that point I couldn't even contact him to check on her well-being because of the things that he had said to me. Some of the emotional tools that helped me throughout this process was naming the emotions, right? I was extremely hurt, by his actions. I was saddened that my grandmother never felt that she could trust me or anyone really to be able to share her business that she needed to take care of, right? I was angry at my cousin for taking my grandmother, away from me. Naming these emotions really helped me to deal with them and manage the struggle and the intensity of them as this was going on, right? Even to the point where I knew where I was getting overwhelmed, but I had to ask for support, right, from someone close to help me manage these emotions, right? I say this, I want to share this story because my grandmother passed in May of this year. My cousin did not reach out to my brother nor I to let us know. We don't know where she was, where they were living, or anything. We just know that she passed. Healing doesn't always come with closure, right? Emotional resilience is really about the ability to continue loving, feeling, and grounding yourself, even when you don't get things tied up in a nice, healthy bow, right? When I found out that my grandmother had passed, I didn't cry because I felt I had already mourned the loss. Instead, there was a continuous moment of gratitude that she was at peace and her spirit was able to now be with my grandfather, which is what she had expressed to me when I went to visit with her 2 years ago. In order to heal, you don't have to reconcile with people who harm you, right? Your healing is not dependent upon closure with that person or the situation. I offer to you to choose softness in the midst of the pain, right? Even though you are feeling the loss, the hurt, you can choose softness. If I didn't have these tools of emotional resilience, I wouldn't have peace with my grandmother passing away. I know that while she was still alive, that I did all of the things that I could within my power to honor her and do right by her. I know that I did not act in a manner toward any family member that was disrespectful or harmful. And that brings me peace. Because even though they might have been out of character, I never got out of character. I wasn't allowed to say goodbye on this earthly realm. But in the spiritual realm, she's still with me. And it's not goodbye. It's I see you on the other plane. And this allows my spirit to have peace with the fact that her last days in this plane, we weren't able to be together. So, all of this to say, sometimes you're not going to get closure. And it's okay. There are going to be fractured relationships with friends and maybe even family members. And it's okay not to attempt to reconcile with them. When you choose the path of your integrity, then you can be at peace.